Well, it's been 5 years of books, so we're finally gonna sell out. Here's 5 books. Welcome back to Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program here on the internet today. I'm your host, the guy with 1.5 thumbs, Raphael, and I'm so very, very pleased you could be with us today. Did you hear that? She's talking to me over there. Anyway, before we get into the books, as always, check the links below because links for the books will be down there. There will be links for ways that you can support the show if you so choose. I don't think I'm going to monetize episodes going forward. You deserve better. At any rate, real quick update before we get into the books. Those of you that ordered t-shirts in September, they are being printed now. Actually, I think Doug printed them yesterday, so you'll get them soon. And as soon as I get them back from him, there'll be a short post and stuff like that, so you'll be able to see it. He totally resized it, and it's huge. It looks great. Okay, so that out of the way, it has been 5 years that we've been doing this show here, for better or worse, and we've reviewed a lot of books. Now, of course, our focus has mainly been on prayer books, service books, liturgical texts, psalters, and the such. But occasionally we have reviewed a few just books in general, Orthodox books. And so I got to thinking about it because people always ask me, a lot. They ask me, what do you suggest I read? And so these are the top 5 books that I have a list, and I run down a list. And so these are the top 5 books that I suggest, in no particular order, to people when they ask me, hey, what should I read? Now, a lot of you are going to be like, oh, that's some basic stuff. Well, bravo, good for you. You've climbed the ladder to thicker books with more words in them. Congratulations. It is my opinion that the thinner the book, the heavier the book. Go figure. And with that in mind, and this really frustrates me because I can't find my copy, is Way of the Ascetics by Tito Colliander. That is the first book that comes out of my mouth anytime anyone asks me, oh, hey, can you recommend a book? It's about this thick, but about that big. It's tiny. Now, if you don't know who Tito Colliander is, you're forgiven. Here's a Norwegian writer, or Finnish. Anyway, he was born in St. Petersburg, converted to Orthodoxy, a very prolific writer. Son became a priest, and he wrote Way of the Ascetics in the early mid-20th century. So that's a thing. And what he took, it's like he took like a lifetime's worth of monastic reading and just distilled it into maybe 100 or so pages. And when I tell you it is the smallest, heaviest book I've ever read in my life, and I've read it numerous times, it is. It's one of those books. The first time I read it, it melted my brain. The second time I read it, read it slow. That's my recommendation. But it's also very affordable. So number one in on both the list and in my recommendations is always going to be Way of the Ascetics by Tito Colliander. Continuing in the order that I have them stacked in front of me, next up is Way of a Pilgrim. This particular copy is a recent copy that I got from our church bookstore, because it's one of those books that I keep giving away. Now, this one is from St. Anthony's out there in Arizona. It's like $6. It's ridiculous. It's the RM French translation used for its base, and then it's been edited to be more orthodox, pretty much. They've gone through, because the RM French translation is in the public domain, so they've gone through and stuck in all the things that, because RM French was like an Anglican, go figure. But there is a version out there if you're looking for an Orthodox translation by an Olga, I forget her name, with a foreword by Father Thomas Hopko, and that's available from Shambhala Press, which, if you're not familiar with Shambhala Press, they are, so esoteric. They publish everything, like everything. But anyway, in case you don't know what the Way of a Pilgrim is about, It's about a guy in rural Russia back in the 19th century who hears that whole thing about, sell all you have, pick up your cross, follow me, and likewise onto it, pray without ceasing. And so it's about his adventures in learning the Jesus prayer and practicing the prayer and traveling around and being a pilgrim. And this was the first book that I read coming into to the church that wasn't like strictly theology, and it's stuck with me ever since. I highly recommend this book. Also, I posted a great audio version of it that's on YouTube the other day in the community tab. And by the way, most of these books, you can listen to them for free because they're all over YouTube. So if you're not into reading, if you're into listening, most of these can just be listened to. Next on our list is the Sayings of the Desert Fathers, also known as a Geronticon. And there are plenty of Geronticons on the market. I could have gone with the Evergentinos, which is like a 4-volume set. You've seen it. It's like that thick, and it's like literally every saying ever from everyone ever. But not everyone's got that kind of loot to throw around. You can't go wrong with perennial classic, the Sayings of the Desert Fathers. These are all those quotes from the Desert Fathers you've ever heard. They all come from this book, and you can read it straight through. You can just open to a page and read it. There's going to be something profitable in there. It's one of those books that I recommend people keep around just for those moments where it's just like, you need a little something extra, you just open it up and you get there. But you can also look things up by subject, what have you. This comes from the Cistercian Studies line of books from Cistercian Publications. Derp. Anyway, they publish a lot of books, and I know they're Roman Catholic, but sometimes they get things right. And these translations, sometimes they're by Orthodox translators. Like this one's got a preface by Metropolitan Anthony Bloom. Hey, what's up with that? But anyway, so like along with Abador Theos of Gaza and Celtic Christianity, there's a lot of really great books in this series, but Sayings of the Desert Fathers is the way to go. This is the basic text of like Orthodox spirituality, extra biblically, that doesn't include like, the Didache, let's say, or Ignatius. Anyway, fourth on our list, but certainly not fourth in place, Wounded by Love by St. Porphyrios. You'll notice that this one is Elder Porphyrios. I got this one for Chrismation 10,000 years ago, before he was a saint. And anyway, the reason I recommend this, okay, I'm going to admit, a lot of it has to do with nostalgia. It's got a warm place in my heart. But really, like, first of all, reading his life, reading the lives of saints is great anyway. It's something we should do. He's a modern saint, 20th century, lived through some stuff. But also, the stuff in the back, like his sayings, his monastic wisdom, are second to none. Now, when we say that, like, love is the answer, like, he does a fantastic job of explaining that and being an example of that. And I am very itchy. I ran out of allergy pills, so I need to go to the store later and get some. But anyway, so St. Porphyrios, Wounded by Love. If you haven't read it, just go ahead and read it. And I don't even know how much these cost anymore. And it's, by the way, I'm not even talking about the bindings on a lot of these books because they're just all glued binding. But this one just really, for a book I've had for a dozen years, this has really held up well. Despite, the page markers and... That's a bookmark from like 2 years ago. Anyway, moving right along. Last, but certainly not least, I recommend a catechetical book. Now, the one I would really like to show you is The Law of God by priest Daniel Soisev of blessed memory, probably a martyr saint. Because his newer edition, I think, really goes into better detail and is laid out a little more plainly for people with a lot more visual aid. But you can't go wrong with the perennial favorite, and that's the OG, The Law of God. Now, someone recently commented on my review of this book that it's like, well, it's more for blah, blah, blah. Dude, it's a textbook. It says so in the beginning. That it's written for young people, for children, to be used in schools and whatnot. And let me tell you something. It's got everything in it. So, for the price of the book, which Okay, I think it's like $40 these days, but that's okay because let's say, okay, I can't make it to catechism classes, or I want to learn more about the faith, and there's the internet, blah, 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 blah. Listen, that's why we have books like this on the market. And you read it, you go cover to cover, and it's got little quizzes in it and everything. Like, I wish I had had this when I was a catechumen, but that's okay. So get yourself a copy of the Law of God. Now, I granted, this one at $40 is probably the most expensive one you're going to find. The rest of these are all under $20. Like I said, Way of the Pilgrim, you can get this for as little as $6. Here's a $20 book. Wounded by Love, if you're paying more than $20, well, it's worth it. Pay the $20. And of course, Way of the Ascetics, I think right now goes for something like $15. So there they are. For our 5th anniversary, 5 years of books. Here's 5 books that aren't prayer books that I think every one of you should probably have on hand and give a read to. Now, of course, I could have said, oh, the Philokalia, and this, that, the other. Listen, we're uneducated around here, folks, all right? We keep it simple. Like Simple Jack. Anyway, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go get some allergy meds and have another pot of coffee, because Lord knows I need another one. Thank you so much, everyone, for continuing to stick with the show and support us over these past 5 years. I am rich in your love, prayers, and friendship, and I thank God for you every day. So with that being said, go on. You're alive. Like, make the best of it, okay? And we will see you again, God willing. So on behalf of, oh, there she is, Patches the Murder Kitten, and myself, thank you for stopping by, and don't forget to go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.